Good evening and welcome to the April 16th, 2025 meeting of the Wareham Finance Committee. It is 6:30 p.m. We are in room 27 of Wareham Town Hall. We are also available by Zoom, although at the moment at least none of our membership is participating that way. And I would like to call the meeting to order. I will call the roll. Jerry Stefanski.
Here.
Jody Smith.
Here.
Ellen Slavin.
Here.
Heidi Churchill. Here. Andrea Picarelli. Here. And Norma Scoggin. I am here. That is 6 of us. Brianna King is not here, although it's possible she'll join us remotely at least. And so let's move on. I actually have, so the first item is approval of minutes. We only have the March 26th minutes. I optimistically put in April 9th because sometimes I get those at the last minute.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes 6-0. And Mr. Sullivan has just entered the room. He is the man of the hour. And
Unfortunate.
he's had a lot of late nights lately, but ever cheerful. So we're going to go on to item B, presentation and discussion regarding town meeting Article 6, the FY 2026 capital plan. We also have Alan Slavin, chair of capital planning. And between the two of them, I assume that they can explain it all for us in a way we can understand.
I hope so. We should be able to. So the two things are, what you're seeing in front of you is the capital plan as it was approved. And I gave a few handouts, including, one was just some of the backup information that we have from the capital items. And,
All right, one moment. So this is the spring capital, correct?
Right, well, this is the full capital plan.
Okay.
As it's been approved.
Okay,
And
the spring capital.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm trying.
So that is also item C, spring capital is item C, so we'll talk about them together.
So, and just taking this on, so all items will be for the spring special town meeting for capital items.
Okay.
So if you pull the document that the transfer is on its front, so page 2, we'll go down the list of items. The first one you'll see is inspectional services, vehicle with equipment, $125,000. That is a weights and measures vehicle. We do our own weights and measures. We are too big to have the Commonwealth do it. I think it's after like 8,000 residents or something like that. So we have a part-time weights and measures person. We used to have an old weights and measures vehicle, and that thing a few years ago went out on us. At that time, we received the new animal control vehicle. So we took the old animal control vehicle over, which is a small Sprinter truck, really small, the smallest one they make. It's not functional for the weights and measures vehicle, not just because of the obviously weights and measures are, a lot of it is going to the gas stations, and you're supposed to have the certain types of apparatus that you're pumping fuel into. So we have an enclosed vehicle with fumes in there from the fuel and such. It's not a good setup, and so this is the first vehicle we're coming up with for $125,000. If you go through the pages, I think I've got it in inspectionals for. Trying to see if that one made the quote list. It might have been pulled out on this. Yeah, that one got pulled out, so I apologize. But it's pretty much a regular, more heavy duty pickup, like a 2500, I believe. So that's running you about 50,000-60,000, but then the whole upfitting for the equipment and everything involved is about $60,000. So the way I look at it is this is at least a 20-year vehicle for us. It's not going, it gets utilized properly, but it's not something that's running the engine nonstop like a police vehicle or something like that.
And what do you weigh and measure with that? You mentioned gas stations.
So gas, anything they bring it into Stop and Shop. You have, so all
Just
the.
checking everywhere that something is weighed or
Right,
measured.
anywhere there's scales, you see like
Making sure it's
at
accurate.
the gas station, you'll actually see the little sticker on the pumps, it'll says Matthew Kelly on it now. So it is something we have to do. We actually do it for, we've done it for Marion and Rochester as well, and we get a little bit of money, so.
Do you get any money, gas stations or?
We charge the fees for it, so we bring it back, and it's pretty much self-sufficient on it, but one item like this, I had been trying to look at one of the community compact grants for regionalization, since we do it from some of the others, but I was informed that I'd be better off buying it than to wait for that to come through, so.
Do you expect a time lag to get this vehicle once it's ordered?
Yeah, it will be a little bit of an upfit, the regular vehicle itself, and then the chassis build out, and that will all have to be shipped, so this, we have not done a tariff upcharge on this, so, I'm just trying to live with where we have for the quotes on it. So it's, this is just I believe it came in at about 122,000 on the quote, so with some of the additional things I brought up to 125. Next item is, I'm calling it administration, 8 copiers. I do not have 8 large copiers in my office. So, we've been finding that, Patty's been going through, and we're looking at 8 copiers for the mailroom, the clerk, administration, health and inspectional services, the division of natural resources, treasurer, and assessor. Coming in, this one, you can see the whole list, a little over $47,000. And then we're going to be paying a separate maintenance schedule on there. The maintenance schedule will stay within the budgets of the departments. I'm probably gonna offend some people, but used car sales is much better than copier sales. It is a nightmare. So I wanna get it done, we wanna purchase these out and essentially hope to get about 5 years out of them versus the lease. And we have I think our idea thought, it was about a $15,000 payback for us for buying it over the 5 years rather than the leasing period. So we'll be going with, these are the Xerox copiers. They were slightly more expensive for the machine, but their service and maintenance was far superior. So it was a wash, and this is off of the state contract. Page 2, you can see there's a chipper box truck. That is, we have a boom truck, which is the big boom that comes up when they're cutting trees, doing things like that. It does have a box on the back. You can no longer legally chip into that while the boom is activated. So what we'd have to do is cut, let everything fall down, wait to bring them down, then begin the chipping process. Mr. Menard's been looking at this truck for a little bit. We'd originally had it for 180,000. Madigan, I believe if you go to, this should be quoted in here. Madigan has it, if you look at this one, for $132,000. It's in stock, it's a great opportunity. I think this is really, it's a good use to keep us with an efficient operation. So we can, while the boom truck is cutting things down, we can chip. And then actually we can pull that away, dump it out, and have it come back. So it's pretty good for the operation. And now this is one of our, we actually have filled positions with people with licenses, so I'd like to utilize them. So I think that's a good use. The 2500 truck with plow, that is just continuing on updating the fleet as we go along. Asphalt box for $50,000. That's what you tow behind, so that's so you can do the hot patch for the asphalt, not the cold patch. Rochester, Bituminous, I cannot say it, so the Rochester Asphalt Plant, we will call it. It is still down. They won't open up till May, and that is just something, but they're who we're contracted with. We'd like, this won't be something that happens all the time, but during the winters when they're shut down, we'd like to do hot patch rather than the cold patches. You know, the hot patch lasts a little bit longer. It's much more durable rather than the first time you have a thaw and a freeze popping
Makes it
out.
last a lot longer.
So I think it's a good way. Again, we consider it a benefit for the community, giving better service.
It's funny, they just paved up on Depot Street, the school up there.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, I mean, it looks great, so I'm saying they're getting asphalt somewhere.
Yeah, so, well, we're contracted with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rochester, there's a couple different plants in the area. But sometimes it's hard because if they don't have it heated, it'll cool down by the time it's getting to you too. The main thing is to keep it hot, so. All the things you learn, I can talk about sewer systems too if you want.
That's fine. Thank you.
Save that for another meeting.
Yeah, so Fearing Hill, if you turn to page 3 and 5, partially down with the little asterisks, Fearing Hill Bridge replacement. We believe it's approximately a $4 to $5 million project. We're at the 100% design. We were held up a little bit by the Division of Marine Fisheries for a smelt section. I don't think smelt have run there in a few years, but there is the potential for the future. As you know, this is one we had to get special permission to continue to operate some of our emergency vehicles over it. Truck, there's a 6-ton weight limit on it. It is a key point in kind of a rural area, but it's a key point to get through West Wareham, some of the other areas. We believe it'll be between a $4 to $5 million project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's I'm setting aside $1 million now and trying to see what we can get maybe for grant opportunities. I don't know what will be there. I'm not hoping for anything nowadays, but then that will allow us, as we're rolling over a decent amount of free cash with what we'll have, I believe, certified free cash for October, it would give us the opportunity to fully fund the rest of it. So I think it's important to put this money aside right now, just in case if there is a grant opportunity for having some of the major matching funds.
Yeah, it was in the MPO program yesterday. Well, the TIP program is being basically voted on in the 21-day period, so they're showing it over a 2-year period for Bill as well.
Yeah. Next page is the school. So if you start with, you'll see this page with WPS1 on the bottom. If you ever worry between my 1s and a 7, my 7s have to cross in the middle. So that's how you tell the difference.
European style.
Yes, Mom taught me.
Yeah.
All right, the $200,000 is something we've been speaking about for a while. That's the McDuffie Annex, which is the building essentially right over here. That's the old bus garage / old Boys and Girls Club, now weight room area. But to the right of that's the McDuffie Annex. The school has taken that after Turning Point has left. They feel it'd be good to start getting up and running, utilize it for, I think, the night school in the beginning they were talking about. And then as they have opportunities for kids more specialized needs, moving them into there. There's some work that obviously needs to be done to the building. It hasn't been abandoned, luckily, but there is some work that needs to be done with electronics, etc. Also on the outside, some of the ingresses and egresses, and I think they want to do some roof work. So, $200,000 is well within what you could expend on so. The next one is is actually the first page. That's the we received from the Wareham fire that there needs to be some upgrades to the and fixing the middle school fire control panel and such. So they have a quote for about 111,000, so we've put in for 125,000 for that. It would also allow us to do the work during the summer, which makes sense.
And it looks like it has to be done.
Have no choice, the fire department.
Yeah, so-
Notify the school, either fix it or close the building.
Yeah, so.
Look at that.
That was-
Well,
that
there's
was
some
late
kids that
coming
might be
in.
ecstatic about it, but we don't
Well,
wanna.
I mean, it's safety, it's
Yeah.
important.
So, and then the next item is a camera vehicle and equipment, that's for the water pollution control facility.
I thought they were gonna do the front entrance. Is that something,
Yeah, they said the ingress and some of the egress for the, are you talking about? the
that
one-
wasn't a capital improvement?
No, for the high school, they're looking to do, they're calling it man trap for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I heard the meeting last week. I know
Yeah.
it's,
But that was $1 million to $1.5 million, they're getting quotes and they're sort of going back to the drawing board. This is what we agreed to for bringing forward to town
Yeah,
meeting,
for the fall
not that.
town meeting.
yeah, I heard it last week. I heard them cut the money down, which I didn't know was the smartest thing to do. I'm not a security expert, but
You know, it's because you have to, it's not just about building the box that you're locking somebody in, you need to have some sort of interaction point from the
Communications
staffing
cameras.
period thing, so letting people in and so it's, I think we all thought it was going to be basically drive up with a Connex box and move on. We were hoping with that sort of level pricing, but this isn't it.
Yeah.
so that's on hold.
So that is, if you look, I believe it's a high school front entrance renovation,
Yeah.
1.6 million we have for the, so moving on, camera vehicle and equipment, that's your Chadwick Barros. So again, like the camera trucks, we do have to camera our sewer lines every year. That also gives us an idea of how they're working, are there leaks, which ones, if we have a plan that we have to do this section of the lines, but this other one now is crumbling more, you need to know which way you're going to. We have some really good staffing that we're training and we wanna do it in-house more. So we can, that helps out a lot. It's about a $260,000 cost. I saw it over here, 245, a little over 245,000. I brought it up because I know this vehicle is going to need extra, the radio, some of the extra equipment. I don't believe they can piecemeal out of another vehicle. So,
Do they try to do the whole town every year,
I do,
or do they do sections?
you do sections. We would have to dedicate a lot of folks to the.
Yeah, well, I wasn't, with the town being what, 50-something% sewage, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure how much they,
I can't remember how many miles, and I know, I thought it was on the website. I thought it was like 90 miles of sewer or something, but it could be,
it could be, yeah,
Yeah,
I
but-
can't argue with you.
yeah, so, that could be a complete brain fabrication in there, but that's what I thought I remembered. So it's almost like with us with the, I look at with the catch basin cleaning. You're supposed to do them every 2 years, get them all done. We try and do them every year, but we have 3,300 catch basins. So we're still hiring an outside contractor, and believe it or not, the most expensive cost isn't the actual labor, it's the disposal of the materials, which is considered hazardous,
Please.
so.
Yeah. I'm sure with both of them, though, you have your trouble spots, you kind of keep a closer eye on type
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
so you'll see, a lot of times you'll see that it almost looks like they've dug out around them, that's when they've been fixing the catch basins. Some of them are major. I mean, there was one drainage issue up in Shangri-La that cost over $500,000, so. Yeah, and that was completely redoing the whole thing, but we need to keep up with this for the EPA standards as well. Besides being the right thing, you don't want catch basins flood out, it's can flood out people's properties, dangerous for vehicles.
I think there's one, I think I saw it on Onset Ave, there's one, the other side of Onset,
Yeah,
that out now repairing.
yeah, Main Ave too, this parking lot, you see one that fired out, that one was scaring me. I was gonna park one of our dead vehicles over it. Lots of people would-
A cone
Yeah.
won't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so so that covers all of the spring capital, is that
Yeah,
correct?
so what I have is we have in free cash still $4,298,642. This I'd calculated, not including the water pollution vehicle at $1,670,000, which would leave us $3,728,642. They have, for retained earnings, $2,092,665. That's the free cash for the water pollution control. And after the 260, it's leaving us with $1,832,665. And I do believe they're going to have a large jump because their retained earnings was reduced by the Swiss Beach project about $3 million because the ARPA reimbursement had not come in by the time this, but that's okay. I mean, it's basically, you're still earning interest on it. It's not like the money went away, so it just, you couldn't expend it.
Questions?
You kind of answered this one, but the inspectional services, their vehicle, kind of our third party if you do another town, so if you looked at third party inspections,
Yeah, it was almost, we couldn't get anybody in. So it's one of these niche ones. The person we have in now, we had to bring them in and be hired and trained by the Commonwealth for it. We couldn't get other people to do it. Middleborough had one, we tried to get them on board. We were looking to do it, and they were all busy using other towns, and it is such a niche one. Almost nobody does it full time. We were scrambling because we asked the state once Jack left. We were trying to figure it out. And you just don't know how many of how these things are such niche positions. So luckily we have somebody that's willing to do this part time. They do a great job with it too.
Other questions? I guess the only other question I had, you mentioned that vehicle, the inspection services vehicle, has about a 20-year life.
Yeah, that's.
What about the other vehicles that are on here?
They're going to depend on the usage, right? We do, I mean, even our big trucks, our snow and ice vehicle, we've utilized, if you remember, we were replacing some that were 20+ years old. We've got a good maintenance team. Mr. Menard's background is in mechanics as well, so he's done a good job maintaining the fleet. Most of these do last a long time. I believe the Chevy will be a supervisor vehicle for the that 4-person's vehicle, which is running the high miles because that 4-person's running all over, is now going to go more into the general fleet for the rest of the crew to use. So they use them to death. We're not getting trade-in values by the time the end of these. So
I'm kind of lucky. I think winter kicks the crap out of them more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you get heavy wet snow and you can, it's tough.
It's tough.
Been there, done that.
They're still out there for the ice for some of them, but that's more of our salt and sanding fleet as well. So.
And then as to the 5-year plan, this is just, you keep updating it every year. It's obviously some really big numbers at the end.
Every month, actually.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
see it once a year.
Right, we're supposed to have it ready once a year, but the way we look at it is it's a moving target all the
Constant
time.
work in progress.
Yeah.
And some things could be 2 or 3 years down the road, and then something comes up and we have to move immediately, and just the other way around. So we're flexible enough that we can do it, because we had the 2 schools come in at our meeting last week, brand new, had no idea.
Yeah, and that's what we should have an idea, if you look at our numbers, so in an ideal situation, these are the things we're going to fund and we know how to fund them. And I'm going to tell you, we are pay as you go.
Yeah.
So we're going to fund them as we have the funds available. Occasionally debt service as some things fall off, like the middle school roof, doing it that way. We should have a higher debt service number, but again, I can't picture laying off and reducing service just to have a higher debt service. So there are some big costs coming down the pike, so.
That this gives us an idea of what's coming and
Right.
a
Yeah.
plan for it.
It allows us to prepare and
Right,
so we can pick off with free cash from the other ones. The bigger ones as we're coming down, and like even the Faring Hill Bridge allows me to say, I'm going to hold off because we have to get that one done.
Right,
These other things,
Priority.
well, yeah, necessary are not the highest priority.
Yeah.
understood.
The Faring Hill Bridge, it's really difficult because it's more than 20 feet. So it goes out of the small bridge program, so we lose out because of it. The other thing we need to recognize also, the CPA program, we have the, basically Town Hall and the Hammond School are both gonna be coming up to us in less than a year. We're gonna need a lot of funds for those two projects. And then, of course, we'll have things like the police station down the road. It'll be, another source, so it could be a debt exclusion, whatever. So we have to be very careful where we spend money and how we do it right now.
And I think it's really important for people to understand that we do our pay as we go, and that we know what's coming down the line, but finding the money is always gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, and I think that it changed one of our budgeting priorities, right? By pay as you go, if we have a bad year, instead of making cuts and laying off, we're just not buying something. And I think that's better for the levels that we have.
Absolutely.
We can borrow money easily. The problem is we can't pay it back easily.
That's right.
So therefore, the
They
philosophy
frown on it when you don't pay it back.
is we aren't gonna borrow if we can't pay it back.
Absolutely not, okay. All right, any other questions on this? All right, then let's move on. First of all, the front page of this that you gave us has the budget transfers, which we had thought we would not have.
Right.
We have already voted to recommend any budget transfers that need to happen, but I did ask that we know what they are, because I saw in the select board meeting last night, there were a few.
Yeah, so we received it, and then the two of them, we have a surplus in the town planner's account this year, so we'd be transferring them over. The treasurer collector's department, there was two things. There was one, somehow we missed the longevity payment in there, and also as we're transitioning that department, we brought in two bookkeeper positions from clerical, having them trained on treasurer collector functions. And we're just trying to make sure that we have a succession plan as things change. And the town assessor's $230. The only thing I can think of is that maybe we budgeted off of 52.2 instead of 52.3 days or something for that one.
Marvin Bear.
Yeah, water pollution control facility, they have extra expense and moving it to the salary. They've been doing a couple different things. We have a much I don't know, our staffing level, we've actually got people in the positions. As we're doing that, we're moving on from the hired contractors for it, which, believe it or not, their hourly cost was much higher than our folks. But we've also had some major projects that are required coming in on the weekends, also working extra hours. I don't think we remember when the operating clarifiers were cleaned out last, and I can tell you by what we saw at the bottom, it was a long time ago.
Not good.
So they've done that and taken care of it. So they're doing a nice job taking care of the plant, and that's what we want. I think that was one of the big things before, the people talking to us about maintenance of it, so.
We're able to retain help too, which is a big
Yeah.
thing.
So this one actually makes sense. And if you remember setting their budget, they reduced their contractor line significantly, so.
All right. Any questions about any of that? All right, union contracts, item D.
So what I'm really gonna concentrate on here is just more the economics, if that makes sense, because there's a couple different things going through here. If you go, the first one is the emergency medical services. We are the third party, that's our EMS department, our third service. It's not fire, it's not police, it's ambulance only. They do a great job, and we're lucky to have them. So they're changing, they do non-governmental details, so when there's any of the like triathlons or something like that, they need them, their detail rate is $55 per hour, and we just changed some of the billings. And if you go through here, this is really just, it's just about running the department on some of the day-to-day activities. You know, there's some clarifications, like changing maternity leave to parental leave to match up with the law, so that's probably a good thing. And then the first one is, in looking at page 4, you'll see when we didn't have the availability to pay, really back in the after the last sort of Great Recession, so the 2012s contracts like that, we started rolling their cleaning and clothing into their base pay. So that's they except for the new hires have no cleaning and clothing allowance, and as you can imagine, they experienced some interesting stuff. So what we did on this one was to make one-time payments, $500. That will get them one of the big yellow jackets that you see that they have and utilize, and then the other ones are year 2, 300, year 3, 300, and that, I mean, for some folks, that's boots. I mean, you know, so it's not outlandish. What we did do is then, particularly the compensation schedule, we basically redid and adjusted the schedule to the first step being $27.50 an hour. And then made sure all the differentials between the steps was 3%. Sometimes over the years, as you drop and add steps or something, what used to be a 4% then becomes a 4% in the middle of the contract, and it's just, for lack of a better term, goofy. It drives me crazy. So that's one of the things we try and work on. You'll see where we get rid of the lieutenant position and create a station officer. That seems to be more in line with what we're able to do with our staffing. There's approximately 16 positions, and we're running 2 ambulances per shift, and then they work on a rotational schedule. And then we if you see in 2026, we're deleting step 1, adding a new step 9. That does not lead to double bumping. We're just getting rid of step 1. Why I'm not making step 2 the new step 1 is sometimes people get really upset if they're on step 3. And even though it's an increase, they're moving a step 2. They say, "You've moved me backwards." And it's,
Maybe we should just name the steps after colors or something.
yeah, you know, it's a step, next step, next step. And then we increased the salary schedule by 2%, and then another 2% then the following year. So this is when looking at it with the first adjustment was pretty good to try and bring them in line with other communities. One of the things we're facing is, and you'll see it, the Cape is facing a real crisis, and they're spiking on what they're paying, especially first responders. We obviously live right by the Cape, but while housing's gone up, we're not experiencing the same thing as the complete unaffordability of the Cape. So we're trying to work out that those are not actually comps for us, even though they can be our neighbors.
We also don't have the traffic.
Yeah. So I got on the 16 full-time employees, it's a little over $48,000.
Questions on this one?
They voted on this?
They have and have accepted it, so.
How does this fit in with the budgeted amount for EMS?
It works within the lines, but it's also, that's why most of the positions, we budgeted a 2% increase no matter what, and we do have the collective bargaining reserve.
Right.
That's why I bring it, because it's kind of difficult if I say, good, all right, increase everybody's position by 5%. Well, you're gonna land on 5% then, aren't you? So, yeah, it's, so we try and bring it within, but we also have that buffer for the one time during these, you know. Obviously, we'd love to get these going ahead of time, but this cycle, there's 8 unions up, which is just, it is, so.
Okay,
The next one is clerical. Make sure that I
page
have-
11.
Yeah, no, I have a separate for my cost, okay. So clerical, there's some small things on here that when you see it, but actually, one of the language changes, that's a key one, which was sort of a key factor to getting this done, was the clericals are 37.5 hour employees with 2 additional 15-minute breaks, so 30 minutes. We deleted those 15-minute breaks, the 2 of them. Why? People aren't smoking anymore. Those are the smokers' breaks, but then we brought them in line with so you see with most of the other unions brought them into a 40-hour position. So what was strange with the hours of town hall, our clerical union would have to stay after technically the department head would leave after their time. And that was something that was really important to them from almost an equity factor. So we worked with them on it, but that is an expensive cost, right? We're going from 37.5 hours to 40. So to make that work, and we had to change the accrual rates to make sure everybody understood that, now that you're with being on a 4-day work week, what that means, all the stuff. But all right, so getting back to page 13, looking at it, we said we will do that. We'll do a 1% increase, and then we'll freeze all the steps for that year. And that's how we're able to fund this and make it work. And then year 2 is a 2%, year 3 is a 2%. We also are starting to celebrate for a reward, if you will, longevity, because in these positions, well, you don't see longevity too much anymore, it seems like. So 10 years is $1,000, and 20 years is $1,500. When I went through this, I was looking at 15 full-time employees. And our clerical are from water pollution control to treasure collectors to the police department has one, municipal maintenance. Actually, the only department that I think doesn't have a clerical is the EMS. The director somehow does it all on their own. So it's interesting. I hope Brad doesn't watch this, so I'll give him some ideas. So for 15 full-time employees, it was $41,000.
Any questions?
Just under the EMS longevity, you've deleted.
There was some longevity language in there for them, but some of them, all of ours are of such an age, they won't reach it for 10 years.
So no reason to have it.
It was a technical give back. It's
Okay. It's funny, you get the language here changing a little bit, but back there it's.
Each unit has its own thing. It's like, without being rude, it's each child is a little different than the other in your family. It's the same thing, and that's not me. Each one of them has certain things that are more important to them than.
We're just gonna say each one has their own priorities, what's
Yeah.
important to them.
Yeah, so.
I get it.
it's-
Makes sense. Other questions?
I'm just curious, why did you extend the probationary period out to 9 months?
Yeah, that's a great question, because any nut can keep it together for 6 months.
Well, not any.
Yes,
I've known some.
yeah, it's, you get the initial period, sort of the honeymoon, the training period and such, and then in some of our departments, there's different stresses, if you will, at different times of the year. And the goal is not to move anybody on, but the goal is to try and work with either a performance improvement plan or something to make it work. But we really want the flexibility of just saying, hey, we've afforded these extra opportunities. Because once they're past their probationary period, it's a different ballgame.
Right.
So you can, during the probationary period, you can release without cause.
Presumably this only applies to new hires, yeah, so
Yes.
whatever they came in on.
Yeah, there's been, when we've promoted from within, is we've waived that as well for, just,
Known entity.
right.
Okay.
Municipal maintenance and town custodians.
Page 14.
Yeah. So, this one. So this is what's exciting. I think this is including the mechanics that we brought over from the school before, including, I've got right now, 19 people there, which has been, it's not 43 like we used to have in the past, but that's fantastic, and that's why we're just trying to get as much done as possible. So, municipal maintenance, they weren't getting rain gear till after their probationary period. We've brought it in. They weren't getting their own, right? We do have rain gear. We're not complete monsters for them to utilize. But beforehand, what was happening was, especially while great turnover, we'd have somebody come in week one, we'd give them all their rain gear, everything, and they're gone. And you've shelled out the money so this is just letting them get it their own at 3 months. I used to like it at their probationary period end at the 6 months, because it felt like a graduation. Sort of like you've earned this, you're now part of the team, but yeah. So this is why I don't see any issue with them getting at that point. It seemed to be something that was a big concern. And then, so you see there's really not too much with this group outside of it. The next one is, we did their salary schedule a little bit from the beginning and really brought everybody into line, including some of the differential, not just from the within the steps, but also like the differential between your laborer, a specialized laborer, a truck driver, just trying to have it make more sense and bring it in within the department. So then we also made sure that the steps in between were 3%. You can see a pattern there, that's pretty typical. And also, as we want to reward those that maybe can't get their full CDL, but are getting hoisting license and things that we can utilize by giving them an incentive to get them. And then you also maximize it so to make sure that, again, it's stuff, you can't go out and get 5,000 off them when they're kind of semi-repetitive. 1,500's the maximum, and it's for things that we really want to utilize. And then year 2 is a 2%, year 3 is a 2%. So out of the 19, and some of these, one of the things we did too, is sort of burying the lead, is they currently get on-call pay, which is 2 hours overtime every week. It's great, they deserve it, especially snow and ice during the winter. But one of the things looking at it was when we were trying to advertise and bring people in, they were not considering that that as part of the hourly rate. No matter we showed it, said, hey, everything, people immediately go to the hourly rate. So what we did was we rolled that in now to the base pay and then made the adjustments on top of that. So it's put us into a competitive market with some of the surrounding communities. And we've actually, we've got some people that came from other communities that they paid a little bit more, but they like the equipment and how some of the operations are going. So it's interesting to see what in this sort of this new era what what people care about too. So 19 of them, about $40,000, and some of them were. This probably would have been a little bit more, but I've got some people at really beginning steps in some of these positions. And then with these, and then we have the library. And the interesting thing about these is I go back and forth with that. The only thing, these are an up and down vote for town meeting, and it's just for the funding. Technically, we actually have all the funding, so we're not looking for transfers. So it's really just a yes or a no, and that's why we just basically go on. Hey, this one's estimated cost us $42,000, and I call it estimate because two of these people could resign tomorrow and
Change everything.
so. Library funding, library is a very small unit, 3 members. They are represented by they're the lone ASME unit that we have. So if you look at, there's just some language change, but there's also adding Christmas Eve as a paid holiday. They had it before as a paid holiday, but it was a floating holiday. They would stay open and have the floating holiday. Well, people aren't coming to the library on Christmas Eve, so this makes more sense. I'd rather have the employees with their family. This was a change in the evaluation period as well. We were able to get that in with this one. And then if you look at compensation, we smoothed the steps. What does that mean? That means that when your steps, some of them would be 7, step 7 would be a 10-year step, step 8 would be a 15. Well, with nowadays with it, you're just trying to smooth them out so the folks have something to look forward to, because especially when you have people at different spectrums of it, and this person steps out, it can really cause a lot of friction in it. And it's a good way for retaining folks. And then we added 2% in that year 1. We did give them longevity, you can see, and then I will not go into the reason for the $300 payment, but there was something that was requested that I said, if I did this, every single unit would be in front of us for this immediately. So they're getting basically a one-time $300 payment, and then 2.5% in 2026, because if you saw, most of our other units had a little bit of a bigger adjustment in year 1, and then increasing the longevity to 15. It should be for the first one, I'm sorry. I have to adjust one of these things. The longevity one should be from $1,500 to $2,000. It says 20 there. I don't think they would have agreed to that.
Well, it does say 22,000, it just doesn't have it in
Okay,
parentheses, yeah.
perfect, 2,000 after 20 years, perfect, all right, yeah. That's what was confusing me, 2,000, thank you. And then year 3, the 2.5%, and they had requested just some things to, on the Bolton boards. So 3 members, just about $6,000.
Questions?
So when we do the funding, because you're really only funding the first year, that's the number I'm giving you on these.
Just out of curiosity, not even a financial question, but since you said you had so many unions this year, it sounds like that's an unusually high number.
No, I've got 11 unions altogether, and we've been trying to stagger a few of them, so you try and get a couple off cycle, but some of them are more in line with them, like steelworkers have a unit A, unit B, so, you know, it's, in a weird way, it's almost like take the pain for the 1 year instead of driving yourself nuts for multiple years.
Yeah, well, that
Every
was my
year.
question, was shorter or longer contracts to try to stagger them.
Right, yeah, so we have staggered a few
Yeah.
others on it, you know, but then I look at back and forth, you know, so 6 and 1/2 dozen, I guess. It's only my sanity, so don't worry.
I'll lack out.
Yeah.
Any test?
All right. If there are no more questions on that, we can move on. I just realized that I don't think I brought my vote grids. Does anybody have an up-to-date vote grid that I could work from? Is that both of them? Jody?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
two sad.
that's right. I've got-
I do everything too sad, I try to save paper.
Okay. Do you mind if I write on your
Right-
nice,
right away.
pretty copy? Okay. That will help us stay on task for the rest of this meeting.
I won't know what I'm reading and make a motion, so
Uh,
Jerry will pick it up.
Sure.
I can, well, yeah, we'll figure it out. All right, so that brings us to voting on all the remaining articles that we have not already voted on. So we will start with annual spring town meeting. We still have the capital plan, the community preservation fund reserves, and union contracts. So Article 6, 11, and 13.
I kind of highlighted them for myself, so
And I will,
hopefully I did it right.
Thank you.
we did resolve one more union contract, and I have 3 others after that I'm still meeting with, so I apologize, it could be an hour.
So my plan is to post union contracts
Okay.
on the Monday, 6:30, Monday the 28th, 6:30 meeting. If you feel like we need more time than that and we need to start a little earlier, we could do that.
You know, none of them are, it's all the economics that we're
Yeah.
basically down to, so I
If
think
you-
we can roll through them pretty quickly.
Yeah, and if you could maybe give us just the
Copies
the
of it.
dollar number in advance, that would make it go faster, I think.
Okay.
So do I have a motion on Article 6, fiscal 2026 capital plan? Motion to recommend favorable action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? It passes 6-0-0. All right. Article 11, fiscal year 2026 Community Preservation Fund Reserves. That we heard from Patrick Lester last week. Is there a motion on that one?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? This is all pretty routine stuff, keeping our balances correct. All right, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. All right, union contracts, Article 13. Motion to, is
Motion to approve.
there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Thank you for a very thorough explanation. I know it was a lot of work. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 6-0-0. All right, moving on to the special town meeting. We have Article S3, Spring 2025 Capital. That's, we just had a thorough explanation of that.
Motion to approve.
Is there a
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 6-0-0. All right, that takes us to the Community Preservation Act.
Did you transfer of available funds?
Oh, we already voted to approve transfer of available funds. Okay,
I don't think I gave.
you did not give the update on that, so if we can just take a moment
Yeah,
to
so-
talk about that.
A and B, we're not gonna take action on. We did fund those within, at the October town meeting. This was just if we were, since we had extra free cash, if we weren't gonna roll it over, we'd put a little bit more into those, but I think the better use is for capital in the fall. The collective bargaining reserve, I'm seeking $100,000. Bayview Park and Onset Pier supplemental. Bayview Park, that's the large project next to the Onset Pier. It's going well. There have been some, obviously running in some extra costs, like the wall in front of it when we were doing the new expanded sidewalk, that needed to be redone. While they were redoing it, it was half granite, half concrete. We had them redo it the whole way in granite. It just looks far superior, and that is, it's a focal point to the town, I think of it.
And as you said the other night, if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah, you know, I'd originally wanted to redo the gazebo. We were, they called it historic. I can only fight so many fights, so, but in looking at the inside of it, it was completely rotted out there, so we're redoing that, and then we're gonna redeck that as well with the same sort of decking that matches the ADA ramp going up. That is a surprisingly expensive cost, but the main one too is, I was looking at it, we have these beautiful, almost boulevard sidewalk coming up there, all these other ones. Then I looked to the Onset Pier, which was, you know, still the 1970s Z brick. It's all kind of, I'd really like to get those sidewalks to be in the same, they wouldn't be the seashell style, but they'd be that nice new sidewalks. I think it'd be important because that's just a great entry point. It just looks crazy to have this beautiful park in that, that little dilapidated area. So for 200,000, which I think we may end up not utilizing all of it, I think it's well worth it. And then the last one is the emergency operations. We've brought the emergency management position into the budget. That's that part-time position with a little bit of the expenses. But when there is a big function or an expense, I don't wanna ever have to say we don't have the money for it, so we put the money aside. I think 50,000, and we'll probably, this is almost one every year, you wanna put a little bit extra in too. So I think it's a fair use of it.
And this is all coming from free cash,
From
of which
free
we have
cash.
more than 4 million at this point.
Correct, yeah, so.
Not after if we approve all of these, but that's
we
what
would
we're going
still-
into the meeting with.
Yeah, and I think if I remember, we're still almost at 2.3 or something. I'll have the numbers.
We're not spending
for
it every penny,
Right,
okay.
so we're still rolling over some.
Does that cause anybody to want to reconsider their vote that we've already taken on S4, transfer of available funds?
No.
Okay, then let's move on. So S10, Hammond School Assessment, we heard about that last week.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is the engineering on what might need to be done at the Hammond School. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, 600. Next is S11, the Riverwalk acquisition. This is the Wareham Land Trust grant. Is there a motion on that one?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Discussion. Alan, I know you have something to say.
That's why I was looking at him.
There'll be discussion at town meeting on this from multiple sources and stuff. I spent some time on it. Just very quick things. Basically, there are 26 sites in Wareham for hiking, etc., not including the Cape Cod Canal or the Miles Standish Park. The majority of the sites that we have never get used. They're there. We don't advertise very well. We don't really do much with it. I live basically right behind the minor forest, my land. Unfortunately for me and Sandy, we've never used any of it. And we've never seen anybody use any of it. So I have a hard time putting another 20 acres in there. The information we got from last week was really not accurate. The land that's involved there, over half of it will not require, you know, houses being put up on stilts. It's fully developable land with nothing special. The houses, as I said before, are probably gonna be, you know, $1 million plus homes, most likely second homes or retiree homes. There'll be no real cost to the town. The road that it gets developed there will be private, so again, no cost to the town. We're paying full retail value for that land, not the assessed value, you know, but full value. And I just have a really hard time with, you know, doing that. And basically what we have is, we have the Hammond School and Town Hall, which is coming before us next year at the latest. We're looking at, you know, more than a few $1 million. The CPA funds will be very difficult to get this all paid for. And I think this 1.2 million is something that we should put aside. I can see if we need it. The idea of increasing the value of homes that abut it is not what we're supposed to be doing. From a financial standpoint, for the finance committee, we're supposed to be doing things that make sense to the town financially. I see no benefit whatsoever to this personally.
Well, I think the point about increase in property values was an increase in property taxes that the town would collect if that were in fact the case, but I get your point.
Yeah,
Um,
it only happens if they get reassessed and actually goes
Right.
up. And it happens once every 3 years. So the bottom line is I have a hard time because Mr. Sullivan has stuff that he's put on the capital plan and we have major amount of money. We know we can borrow, like say for the police station, but we can't pay. So we need to make sure that whatever we go forward with, we don't hamstring ourselves with something that's important. Hammond School and Town Hall, virtually everybody in town has some benefit of it. This particular piece of land, there's a river next to it, but there's wetlands there between that and the actual property. So basically, you know, it's not beachfront or waterfront property, number one. And number two, if they're telling us we're gonna have global warming and everything's gonna, you know, go underwater, why are we actually going ahead and doing it if the land is eventually gonna become unusable? And therefore the trails are gonna build in it aren't gonna exist. That's my problem with it.
So I have to say, I thought about this quite a bit this week too, and I'm not opposed to it, but I'm opposed to it at this price. I had very much the same thought on, I look at it, I look at the benefit to the sellers, and I think that we are paying too much for something that, I mean, even what you would pay for a standard real estate fee is not in there in terms of a discount for what would be a win-win for both parties, but it doesn't seem like it's truly a win-win at this point. And so I would consider it a lower amount, but at this, I'm just not in favor of it.
Yeah, I have the same feeling that, you know, if we were to reduce it to say $500,000, if the moderator would allow it, because that might be a major change in the article, and that's up to the moderator. If we drop it down to $500,000, I would be okay with it. But you know, to take the assessed value, which is just over 400,000, as you just said, they're not paying any cost whatsoever. The owners of the land, if they really wanted to, could donate the land to the land trust and then take a tax write-off against income. And it'd probably benefit better in the long run, and there'd be less family infighting.
I'm not privy to any family infighting, but
I think
Jerry?
we have a lot of conservation land and there's better usage for this land.
Jody,
I'm just listening.
nothing to say? How did you want to add anything?
No.
I'll take the opposing view. Yes, we have a lot of capital expense coming up. It doesn't come out of, for the most part, can't come out of community preservation funds. Those funds are for very particular uses, including open space and historic preservation, affordable housing. This town does not like to spend the money on affordable housing. We've had that fight very recently. I think it's a great project. I have actually been on the land. I don't know that you have. And I am a person who does walk the trails around here and other places, and I think it's important. I personally like the project. I like the idea. I don't think we need any more $1 million houses in this town. I really don't. I understand the appeal of the increase in tax revenue, But what we need actually is affordable housing, and it wouldn't be suitable in this spot. So I personally am still in favor of it. I realize I'm sometimes not in the majority, and that is just fine. Yes.
Yeah, you just touched on a couple of points. I mean, my feelings are no secret about how I feel about affordable housing. But I'm all in favor of buying as much open land as we can. I mean, I just think, you know, I know it seems high, but I think I still support this, and I certainly appreciate what I've heard. That's why when you looked at me, as I'm sitting there thinking about both sides of this, and when you bring up the affordable housing, which just drives me nuts, but buying open land, I still like.
We as a finance committee also should work with HUD, because when Barney Frank was here, he basically from Boston all the way out here put us with HUD into the Boston market. So
Understood.
affordable housing just doesn't work here because of the numbers.
Yeah.
And I spoke with HUD through Congressman Keating. I reached out to see what we could do. And the official at HUD said, well, every 3 years we kind of go through this and look. But honestly, you're wasting your time. These are exact words they gave me.
Well,
So that's a real
actually
problem. That's why you don't have easy affordable housing.
Understood. That's not the only issue I think this town has with affordable housing, and affordable is not necessarily affordable. But that's not really on the table right now. I brought that up as my point is, we have the funds available. They shouldn't sit in the bank. I don't think they should sit in the bank. I really look at this as being like a public park. And we do have public parks. We want public parks. They increase our quality of life, I believe. This is one that's actually very suited to especially children. I mentioned this last time when they were doing the presentation. So that's really all I want to say. Is there any further discussion? All right,
I just think, I'm sorry, the one clarification, because I think I understand now, because they're talking about being chapter land, so.
Right.
The actual assessed value is 3,600. I am not saying, dude, that
That's
is
not
no-
what that's not
but
what it's
that's
worth.
because it's in chapter land.
Right.
The appraised value, which would be the assessed value if it were not in chapter lands, the 429.
Which is undeveloped, yeah.
That's undeveloped, not separated, not anything, so.
That's the
You
problem
know,
we really have.
If it were developed, the lots obviously broken up would be worth.
Yeah, 12 lots.
Obviously. All right, anything else? All right, we have a motion on the table to recommend favorable action. All those in favor, I'm gonna ask you to raise your hand because I know it's a split vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It's 3, against? 3, all right, and no one abstaining, so it's 3-0, 3-3-0. Right. All right, Swift Beach, S12, Article S12, Swift Beach recreational access and rehabilitation.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? This is 6-0-0. All right, next is S13, return unused funds from completed projects.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 6-0-0. All right, now that takes us to the, shoot. Yeah. That takes us to the site plan review, S14. So this was the zoning bylaw proposal. I raised an issue last week about the wording. Do we have a motion on this one?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, discussion.
This article, basically, I think it was, Derek can correct me if I'm wrong. I think last fall we had an article that went in that caused problems, which we didn't realize. We had something like 14 projects come before. I think it was either zoning or planning. 10 of them got passed. We were lucky that we didn't have an issue, but 4 others are sitting causing problems. So what happened is there was a meeting between the ZBA, planning board, town plan or whatever, to discuss the language to correct this. And this is basically to fix what we actually passed without realizing we had a problem. It basically takes who has control of the site plan review, et cetera, and it pulled the ZBA out. And that created a real internal problem, which this is fixing.
All right. My problem is that the way it was explained and the way it's written aren't consistent, I
Yes.
don't believe.
Yeah.
I believe that there may be an opportunity to fix that before town meeting. The planning board is going to meet on Monday. They have not considered this at all yet, and I think their participation is essential. I am not personally ready to vote to approve something based on a promise that some correction is going to be made in the future. I would prefer to hold this one off until the 28th, until after the planning board meets. How does everyone else feel about that?
Before town meeting.
Yes, before town meeting, but it would not be, I will put an explanation in the report that we're waiting for further information.
Just remember to put it on the agenda for,
I will definitely put it on the agenda.
just
I've already started drafting the
make a
agenda.
note to yourself.
It might not surprise you to know that I've already started drafting that agenda.
Shocking.
So, I'm sorry, we have a motion on that one, right? I'm gonna ask that we withdraw that motion.
Second.
Is there, is the,
I'm thinking about it.
okay. Oh, we can vote it down. I mean, it's okay with me too.
I would draw my second.
Okay, with a second, there's no second, so,
I'll withdraw based on the town planner making a statement that he was gonna correct it before town meeting.
I'm not doubting that they're actually intending to do that. I'm just not comfortable voting on something that I haven't actually seen.
Yeah.
If that's,
I just, again, this is probably out of sequence. Years ago, when we had, I think it was McDonald was chair of the finance committee, we had discussions that under Mass General Law, et cetera, the finance committee is supposed to deal with matters that are financial only to the town. There are certain articles that have no financial impact whatsoever. And I'm really, going forward, I don't think we as a group should be making personal decisions on certain projects that have no financial impact. It's just,
I don't necessarily disagree with
have-
that, but I think almost everything does have a financial impact, frankly. And this, I think this is bound to. I think zoning bylaws in particular are bound to.
we'll agree to disagree.
I'm sure we will. So I guess the question is, shall we just leave that open for right now?
Let's see if we can get it fixed before town meeting.
We will definitely put it, it will be on the agenda for the 28th. We will have a vote to announce at town meeting. It just won't be in the report.
We reach out to the town planner, let them know that that's where we're at.
I've already been in touch with him.
Okay,
I
thank
actually
you.
asked if I could, asked him for tonight if we had some corrected language, and I didn't hear back on that. So we will, I'm sure he will get it to me as soon as he
Yeah,
has.
he just got hired Tuesday.
I understood. No, I think he's doing just fine.
Yes.
All right, that leaves S15 accessory dwelling unit bylaw. Is there a
Motion to
motion?
approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that one?
That one there is we're finally able to comply with the state rules and laws. We can be more restrictive, not less. And we already have at least one application, but I believe it was pulled because the actual application had a lot of defects in it. But technically, if someone came before us right now, we would probably have to approve it anyways.
Yes, our query whether anyone's actually going to build an accessory dwelling unit at the cost of construction at this point, but we'll see.
Probably not.
Probably not. Is there any other discussion on this one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? It passes 600. And last but not least, solar voltaic installations, S16. This is the business overlay district restriction on
Motion to approve.
siding. All right, second.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 600. Okay, I believe, let me just quickly look through my draft and make sure I haven't forgotten something else that we need to clarify or get a number on. Right. Derek, what is the total number on the budget transfers? I could probably add it myself in my head, but
Yeah.
I'm tired.
It's, I'd like to separate them between the two since it's a, one's the enterprise fund and one's the.
Oh, yes, okay.
So the general fund, 12,830. Enterprise fund, 60,000.
And the important thing there is that the enterprise fund gets covered by sewer fees.
Correct.
All right, I will make that distinction in the report. So that takes us to item F, discussion of upcoming tasks and expectations. As I said, we'll have a meeting at 6:30 before town meeting. I recommend that everyone get there, I think everyone knows this at this point.
6 o'clock.
Get there in time to check in before our meeting. I don't know how heavily this is gonna be attended, but I have been caught in the position of being in a long line that I wasn't expecting. We will cover any remaining union contracts. We will cover the zoning bylaw vote. And we will, as usual, allow everyone the opportunity to change a vote if they wish to on something that we've already voted on. So that's that. Meeting is at the high school.
Yes.
All right, every once in a while, we change it around. And then finally, I wanted to just have a brief discussion on the transition to new finance committee leadership. As I've told you, I will be out as of May 5th. That means the 28th will be the last meeting where I will be chair. You all, it's up to you all to do what you want to. I think ordinarily, we just have one meeting in June to do any last minute budget transfers as requested by the town administrator. Not really sure logistically how this goes once I am out, except that we have a vice chair who's not present tonight and a clerk. And I guess we go down the line of succession to put together an agenda for the next
We
meeting.
could do that, or we could do the meeting just before town meeting. We could meet and just vote for a chair as part of the agenda,
Mhm.
but not effective till after town meeting is over. So it doesn't affect you that way.
I could put that on the agenda.
That
that's
would be
fine.
the
I think,
cleanest way to do it.
I agree. I think that's a good idea. Okay. I passed out or emailed to you today a draft finance committee handbook that I have created. I hope it covers everything, but if you have a chance to look through it and you see something that I may have missed or that's not clear, you think we need more information on, happy to give that. I have all of my computer files, which I gotta say, I've done a really nice job of keeping them organized. I've got draft agendas for every meeting that I've been a part of, so it would be really easy, I think, for somebody to step in and take those documents and use them the way they need to be used.
It's some institutional knowledge that way.
Yes, exactly. I also am not gonna, I'm still around, so I would be happy to advise, no charge. If there are questions that come up, especially leading up to the next big town meeting, if there are ways that I can be helpful in helping and whoever's
Appreciate it.
leading that, I'm glad to do that. All right, and with that, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
No, motion to adjourn, thank you.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, passes 6-0-0. See you on Monday, the 28th.
Yeah.